I'm the oldest out of four boys. My oldest brother passed away about 4 years ago. Suddenly passed away, wasn't even 50 years old. Uh, I grew up, like I said, in Warren, Michigan. There I am. See, I couldn't find a when I got christened picture in a nice little white dress that we wore back in the day. Remember those? So that's me with Santa Claus. That Hulk shirt right there, my daughter wears now to bed. So that shirt's over 40 years old, and she still wears that. Growing up in Warren, Michigan, I played all sports. I excelled at football. I was raised Lutheran. I went to church every Sunday with Grandma Harmson, who was the neighborhood grandmother. I was in the church choir. I could actually sing a little bit back then. I can't anymore, Jen. But I went to Sunday school. I went to the youth nights. I was very involved in the church up until a certain age. There I am when I graduated high school at 19 years old. I got held back one year because I could not read very well. That little picture right there, that is my 27-year-old daughter when she was 2 years old. So I have 3 children. I married my high school sweetheart. I had aspirations of playing college football. I was really good at football, but we got pregnant I was 19, she was 18. So I did what I thought was the right thing. I joined the military so I could have insurance. We got married. It lasted from 92 to 96. We had 2 children, Ashley and Brandon. I went off to Colorado, got stationed there, all that good stuff. Marriage didn't last. This is a couple of my Army. That was my second or third tour in Iraq. I can't remember anymore. The marriage didn't last. When I was growing up, I was very involved in the church. I can get back to that. I wanted to be a pastor. I really loved church. I loved reading the Bible. And then I got away from it. I discovered girls, sports, alcohol. And then, like I said, I got married to my high school sweetheart, joined the Army. Didn't last. I am an alcoholic. I am in recovery right now, but I am an alcoholic. I've been sober a little over 9 years. So, God had worked through my life, my whole life. During my drinking career, as we call it, towards the end, I wanted to die. I tried to kill myself by drinking. I've been married 3 times, and 3 times I've been divorced. And it is what it is. My second marriage, I got married to my second wife in, 2004. And I deployed for my first deployment 5 months later. For a year, came back for a year, went back for a year and a half, came back. During that tour, she got called twice and was told I was killed. Obviously, I wasn't. We were married for almost 5 years, and I was gone for 3.5 years of that marriage. So it really didn't last. And my alcoholism started taking off. I didn't have God in my life. After my first deployment, I was very, very, very angry with God. A very good friend of mine got killed. He took my position to go out on a patrol. So when he got killed, I thought it was my fault because I let him go. He was tired of sitting in the office playing on a computer because that's what he was very good at it. So I was very angry with God. And then some of the things I saw in Iraq. And it just escalated my alcoholism. And, we've heard it in the church, I've heard it a lot, is I had a hole in my soul, and I was filling it with alcohol. I was filling it with women. I was abusing both. Not physically abusing women, but I was abusing both, you know what I mean. I was empty inside. I wanted to die, and when I would wake up in the morning, I would be angry with God all over again because I woke up. as you seen those pictures, I would pray to God when I would go to Iraq. I would pray for us to go out on patrol. There is my second tour in Iraq right there. That's me. I'm sure you can see which one's me, the biggest one out of the group, stuffing my face with an MRE. That was my platoon. I went on 2 patrols or 2 combat tours with this group of guys. And we always came back alive, all of us. I still remember all of the names. He was a medic. That guy's name was Exeter. That's Book, Rue, McClam, and myself. And if I ever had to go back to combat again, I would go back with those guys. That's how it was. But I would come back, I would go. I would pray to God when we go on patrols. I would pray to God that we'd all make it back. I would pray to God when I was drinking and I was in trouble. Please, God, get me out of this. And he always would. And I got injured a few times over in Iraq. I've had 2 neck surgeries. I've had several throat procedures on my vocal cords. But, God was always there. He kept me around for a reason. I got blown up quite a bit. Like I said, I drank a lot of alcohol. And he kept me around for a reason. You've all seen my beautiful little 5-year-old daughter that's here with me all the time. My little mini-me, as I call her. And then we'll fast forward a little bit. And then I'm going to get on to how God has changed. There she is. They came and visited me. My last year and a half in the Army, I did brigade staff duty. Some of you Army people will know what that is. 24-hour shift. And they would come and visit and have dinner with me and hang out and watch movies and stuff like that. So that's her at, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years old. But we're going to fast forward. 2015, I came to RiverTown Church for the very first time on Easter Sunday. I did not want to come to church. Like I said, I was angry with God. I didn't want to be here. But Holly, Madeline's mother, as a lot of you know, we are recently divorced, but she came to RiverTown Church one time when I was pulling that duty with some friends of ours, Bill and Gina Bowman, who used to come to their church. And she's like, "You really got to go to this church. You really like it." I'm like, "Oh, all right, let's go. We'll go on Easter Sunday." We've all heard Pastor David talk about it. I can't go to the church. It'll burn down if I show up. All that good stuff. So we came. Really enjoyed the service. And that's when Pastor David did something that has brought me to RiverTown Church every Sunday, every Wednesday for the last 5 years, unless I'm out of town doing a contest. He gave a challenge. I'm a soldier. I'm a career soldier. I'm a weightlifter. I'm a bodybuilder. I was like, "Oh, okay, you want a challenge? Okay. I'll be here every Sunday until Mother's Day. I got it." So that's what I did. I would come. At first, it was just every Sunday I'd come to church. I put in my little notes, that's when the seed was planted, or it was started to grow again. Because I love God. I was angry with him. And so I was like, all right, I'll come. And I started coming, and then more and more, it started getting watered, the seed getting watered, it started growing. And then I started coming and volunteering at the church when I retired from the Army. I was 44 years old. I didn't have to work if I didn't want to. I'm going to pass the time. I'm going to go help out at the church. I'll do handiwork. I'll hang out. Madeline can come with me. We can do that. She can hang out with Pastor Casey's daughters. And we started doing that, and it just more and more, I felt God's love. It was just, I was happy again. I was smiling. I was happy like I was a kid when I was a kid and I was going to church. I looked forward to getting up. I wasn't angry anymore with God. And then, see, stuff just started getting better. I started getting closer to God. I started doing the Bible studies we would do on Wednesday at McDonald's. Absolutely should not eat McDonald's if you're trying to do a bodybuilding contest. Or we would go to Dunkin' Donuts. But and I would eat the stuff. It didn't bother me, and I would come. Next time we'll go to, what is that? I don't know, the juice bars. I eat absolutely horrible for a bodybuilder. I'm telling you. Nobody believes me, but I do. Trying to remember stuff. I would show up, and a lot of times it would just be Pastor David and I, or Pastor David and Captain Great. What was his first name? Captain Great. He would show up, and I would always come in with my little notebook. I have like 3 of these. The other one's full. It's yellow, and I would get Bible verses, and I would come in, and I would ask David. I would always come in, and I know here he is again. He's got his little notebook. And I was asking because I was going through a lot of stuff. Over in Iraq, you see some things. I use a weird sense of humor. You see some things, you do some things, I wouldn't recommend it, kind of thing. And I felt bad about some things that I did. And I remember one Sunday, it was a cross Sunday, it was just like that picture right there. I went out there, and it hit me. It hit. And I was like, oh. And I went up, and I got out the altar, and I just started crying. And Pastor Dave and Jimmy Witherspoon came over and talked to me. And it was, and I'm tearing up now. It was just overwhelming. I was just like, how can I do what I did, even though everything I did, I promise you, was legal. I did nothing that you see in movies. But when you do some of those things, even though it's justified, you feel a certain way. And how can God forgive me? And the crying, and Pastor David and Mr. Witherspoon prayed over me. And ever since that day, it's just been like, it's gone. I don't feel the guilt anymore of doing that. I did what I had to do to keep myself alive and my comrades, but you still get overwhelmed with that. I did anyways. But so that was one of the things on how God has worked in my life. As the slogan goes that I helped put out there on that little seat as soon as you walk in the door, the old shirts, I am transformed. And there's been a lot going on in my life the last couple of years. Since I've been coming to church, my parents were in a bad car. Well, no, that was before that. I got divorced. We'd been together for 10 years, married for 7 years. We got that beautiful little girl. And when that happened, I wasn't angry with God. I wanted to go get closer to God. And I wanted to try and understand and all that stuff. But this is how it's transformed me. A lot of people don't think this because of how I am now. I have a lot of anger issues. I've had a lot of anger issues before in the past. And that was usually my way of dealing with stuff, was to get angry. And that has not happened. I'm not saying I'm not perfect. I have gotten upset. I've gotten angry. But I haven't lashed out in that anger like I used to do. And that's God in my life now showing me that that's not the way to do it. That's not going to help anything. That's not going to change anybody's mind. And it's just been it's an amazing process. There's one slide, I love this quote, no matter how far away from God you get, no matter how far away from God No matter how many steps you have taken away from God, it only takes one step to get back. That's all. That was my one step, was at Easter Sunday 5 years ago, to come back to church. And again, it is just, like I said, it's transformed me. And I'm not able to come to church as much as I used to volunteer. This is something too that God has done for me. During all this, the divorce process going on, I was going to meet Pastor David. It was just going to be him and I at McDonald's breakfast, drink, and he shows up and he's very excited. I'm like, oh man, what's going on? He's very excited. I'm like, okay. He's like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm going to work with autistic kids and take them to the gym. Oh, I don't know about that. I've never met an autistic person in my life in person. So I was very scared. I was more afraid of that than going back to Iraq. I'm like, I don't know. Well, the mother's on her way. She's going to interview you right now.
You had to agree and say, yes, I want to.
He had her on speed dial. Everybody knows how he is. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll give it a shot. We'll give it a shot. And this, like I said, this is God working in my life. This is God doing, I'm doing God's will. I'm not trying to do my will anymore. My will got me in a lot of bad places. So all right, I'll give it a shot. He calls her. She shows up. I'm like, I've never met an autistic person. The only thing I know about autism is Rain Man. Everybody's seen the movie, right? She's like, that's pretty good. It's a pretty accurate movie. I'm like, okay. So we interview. I tell her I'm an alcoholic. I'm in recovery. I've been in this much trouble. I've been in this. Okay. Okay. Her son at the time was 18, 19 years old. He's a full-grown man. He's, 5'10", 220-some pounds. He's a big guy, but he's like a 4-year-old. So you're trusting me with your 18-year-old autistic son who's like a 4-year-old. And you know this about me. I haven't been going, oh yeah, let's do this. Okay. So I started working with Michael, and it is the best thing that I've ever done in my life. One of the best things I've ever done in my life. Michael is, like I said, he is autistic. God put that opportunity in my life, and I have ran with it. Where he's at on the spectrum, I'm learning a lot about it. I'm far from being an expert at this. But where he's at on the spectrum, a lot of autism people at that have outbursts and stuff like that. He has 2 a year. That's when they go and they change the scenery. Other than that, he is the happiest person I've ever met. He is able to accept who he is, and I can have the worst day, or what I think is the worst day I'm having, and I spend 10 minutes with Michael, I'm in the best mood ever. He is the greatest kid in the world. From that, God put another autistic person in my life to work with. He is about the same size as Michael, they're about the same age. But he's highly functioning autism. He graduated high school on time, and it's great. I'm there. He called me today. This is the connection. He calls today, Mr. Keith, if I do this, is that good or bad? No, it's good. Do that. You can do that. And then he said something, and I was like, no. I was like, just stop. No. He said, okay. From now on, I'm not Googling anything. I'm just calling you. I'm like, that's fine. That's fine. I talked to his parents one time, and they're like, he always, I can't eat that. No, Mr. Keith said no. I can't eat that. So, it is amazing. That, like I said, that's God. That's not me. If I would have done my will, I wouldn't have started working with them. And I wouldn't have the experience I have because of those two. Madeline gets to go with me a lot of times. Her and Michael are best friends. That's what they say. Michael and Madeline are best friends. And it's just it's an amazing experience. I'm like lost for words right now. It is, I don't know. Like I said, I was raised to go to church. I knew all these things, and then when I got away from it, it's like I forgot them all. My grandma Harmson, we used to go do Bible study with her, and I knew this. Like I said, at one time I wanted to be a pastor. I wanted to be involved in the church. And then I started getting, I don't have my other notebook. Like I said, I have like 4 or 5. Some of this saying, I won't say it right. What I thought I was is what I became. Does that make sense? I thought I was a piece of trash because of some of the things I've done, not just in Iraq. So that's where I thought I was, and that's what I became. And it kept me there for a long time. And it's not easy to get out of that. Even if you're coming to church, it's not easy to get out of to think that you're still that. It took me a long time, and like I said, it was that one Sunday that I went over there and I knelt down and I did that. I went on the mission trip to Bainbridge and Donaldsonville. It was amazing. That was my first mission trip ever. And that's where I started to accept how I can talk to children very easily. So we walk in there, I'm wearing a Hulk shirt, just about like this. All these little kids are like, just staring at me. I've said it before here, I did it. And it was just like that. This is how I can talk to these kids, especially in an area like Bainbridge and Donaldsonville. I'm like, I can get them. They're like, how many push-ups can you do? All of them. I can do them all. Flex your muscles, do this, do that. So I'm like, and since the strength team was here, David has tried to convince me, this is your way to do this, to preach, or to get to talk about God with kids who don't believe in God or are mad at God. So we went to the hardware store, we got a pole. I did that there, and then I was more approachable. They were still like and I asked, have you ever seen anybody who looks like me? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, I'm a person. So I've accepted that. This is another thing how God works in our lives if we allow it. I have people coming up to me that I don't say talk about God. I go to the gym. When I go to the gym, I go to the gym. There's blinders on. I'm there to work out. I got Skillet blaring in my ears. There's a Christian band, okay? So I got them going, and I'm just focused. Every once in a while, I wear this shirt or another RiverTown shirt, and people will come up and start talking to me about God, about this or that. I was walking through the gym one day, and I talked, and this very big gentleman, his name was Vinny. He's from New York, and yes, he's Italian. His name is Vinny. He's about 6'4", he's about 260 pounds. And there's another, one of the little trainers there that's like this tall. And they asked, talking about God. I was like, where is this coming from? We're in the middle of Max Fitness. And we started talking about God. And then I was walking on the treadmill one day, and another woman my age she's a Christian, and we're talking about God, middle of Max Fitness. And it just pops up more and more. This is how God works in my life anyways. Out of nowhere, a childhood friend growing up, that we grew up across the street from each other, stay at his house, he'd stay at our house, we'd stay at the other neighbor's house, we'd have sleep out, camp outs in the backyard. Middle of nowhere, one morning I wake up to a message on Facebook Messenger, how do you become a better Christian man? Why are you asking me? But so I sent him a couple books that I knew, and it's amazing and weird at the same time. You know, I'm still kind of new back into Christianity, and it's like, back off, man. But God doesn't allow it. He won't allow it anymore. You know, He wants me to share with people on what has happened and how I've been transformed into a better person again. That was my 100 steps away from God. I was running. I really was. You know, and I can define the moment when it happened, when my friend got killed. It was war. A lot of people got killed. But I blame a lot of stuff on God, and it wasn't God. It was me. It was my will, and it just didn't work. You know, I have my ups and downs. Sometimes I want to take it back. I can do this better. I'm a good Christian now. I can do it. It doesn't work.
And so building up men and women that can stand up into their calling, into who they are, regardless of the circumstances of their life, is it. Does that make sense? Building up men and women, husbands and wives, single people, people that have been never married 6 times, it doesn't matter what. Stand up and say, this is who I am, this is why I'm here, and I will do what I was created to do. That's the only thing I know that creates the community that's God's church. And that's the only thing I know that spreads the gospel in a way that is permanently planted in people's lives. And so I want to say to many of you who have walked with this church for years, so I could call your names, you're sitting here. You are responsible for creating a community that Keith could walk into. I just want you to think about it for a minute. Everything you've done for years and years and years is responsible for creating a community. And it is not a small thing, it's a giant, giant, giant thing. Just ask Madeline how big of a thing it is. Does that make sense? Just ask Madeline how big of a thing it is, what you've done in creating God's church. So, I see some of you really, really shaking your heads and really, really taking it in because there just has to be places where people walk into. And what's interesting is I'm looking out tonight and I know you and I know what process you're in. Does that make sense? Like Danielle, I know what process you're in. You left home from Tampa and you, for some reason, decided Columbus, Georgia. You know what I mean? And you're in this process. We walked with Lenora through her process since everything is walked through in her life for these many years. And I'm looking over here, and I see Allie over here. Yeah. And Allie went with us when we went on a little canoeing trip. It was just a last-minute thing, and I said anybody can go that wants to go. And Allie, on the way home from there, I asked Allie how she got saved, when she was baptized, what's going on in her life. And I know Allie's process. And so these first Wednesdays when we do My Story, if you feel like we gotta have like a whole list of everybody that says, ooh, I want to talk about where I'm at in my process. Does that make sense? It's like an update.
Yeah.
And I would really hope that one of the teens would be able to do that next. Does that make sense? That one of the teens would do that next. Or that, you know, it really kind of is a place where, see, this first Wednesday, and I'll speak to the teenagers for a minute, is the only time that we have planned where we're all supposed to be together. We went back to having student ministry on Sunday morning. That's a good thing. But this first Wednesday is the only time that we're supposed to all be together. And so on Sunday morning, when the worship starts up, and you guys come in, and you're not in the hallway, it says, I'm part of God's church too. And when you're here on Wednesday night, you're able to say, this is my family too. So I want to kind of go back to Keith for just a minute and get you guys to be able to say a few things to him. So who would like to say something to Keith by way of encouragement to him? Because he's mentioned how he sensed God's, how he sensed God could maybe use him. How could God use me? I'm retired. I have this life ahead of me. And what do you see in him? And speak into his life that sense of that implanting identity like we talked about last Sunday morning. Just a few of you guys can do that.
Well, I see from the testimony you've given, if you don't know anything about people with Alzheimer's,
Autism.
autism. You know, get a teacher certificate or something so that you could actually do groups with them, because that's a desperate need in the community.
Yeah, we talk about how people with some disabilities, very often their physical health suffers because that's just one of those things that goes by the wayside in life. Yeah, and how about how that makes you so important? Yeah, and Miss Bobby can let you know what kind of, or somebody else could let you know what type of certifications are out there for that.
I don't know, you go up to the college and find out, or to the...
Some of those
there's
mothers know.
Yeah.
Somebody else. What have you seen in walking alongside Keith, and what would you like to kind of speak back into his journey? April.
Well, for me, Keith and I saw each other. We have a nickname for each other, and that's called my church flirt. It's like a word flirt. You don't understand. But
We try not to flirt at work around here. So.
For me, it was easy for me. Getting advice from him is just amazing. I can call on him anytime I need to, and he's always there to answer the phone or talk to me in person. And
Why is that easy for you with Keith?
I think it's because of the background of me being in the military as well. He understands. And I went through drug and alcohol problems as well. And I've seen him recover. Well, not through his recovery. I see where he's at now. And like, that's what I want. Fully that. And just, for me, he's a really good role model to show me that, hey, you can, this is what you can do.
Wow. Somebody else.
I know this much about 2-3 years ago. I started doing it was kind of like what you're doing with the kids with autism. It really fell on me that I wanted to do something that involved the kids. So I started a youth ministry called On Fire. So I was doing worship and preaching a little bit, and then teaching fire safety too. But over the years, it's pretty much the fire fizzled out, and I have to listen to you all want to do it again.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
That's good.
Keith, why is it hard? Why was it hard for you to think? Because the rest of us, like, it's so simple to us to see. You know what I mean? We all see it so clearly. Why would you think it might be hard for you to say, you know, like, this thing I love so much, bodybuilding, is what God's going to use to build his kingdom? Like, building my body will be used by God to build his church or his kingdom? Why is that being your thing? Like we talking about that being, why is that not as good as singing? It is as good as singing. Why is that not as good as preaching? It is. Why would that's not as good as writing a book? It is. Like, who gets to choose which things are valuable? You know what I mean? Like, who gets to choose that? Like, where's that committee? Okay, so why would it be difficult for you? Why was it difficult for you to say, you know, like, I don't have to do a different thing. What I am is enough. This is right. Why was that hard? Why has that been a little bit tough?
Because I guess because I've never seen it. You never see, and I don't know, because I wear the RiverTown church, the black one, to all my contests. That's like my good luck charm, is the river. I wear it to all my contests, and everybody always asks me. I think it is because I've never, we've all grew up with a power team, the older people. I know there's some youngins here. But now they're called the strength team, so you saw that. I don't know, just like when I said something to the gym before, I said I was going to joke when I get up here on stage and be like, I'm nervous, but most of the time when I'm on stage, I'm in my underwear. So I don't know why I'm nervous now. And she's like, well, if you got a picture, we'll put it on there. And I was just...
Is there anybody that would mind that?
But I guess because it's never been done. So it feels... And like, when we were at the mission trip, and all the kids did that, and that's the first time I spoke more on alcoholism at the mission trip.
And all the little boys would go up and keep saying, feel my muscle, feel my muscle. You know what I mean? And like, it's like, me too. Can I be like you, Keith?
Yeah.
Can I be like you?
And that's one of the things I shared with them when I did that thing right there. And because I was wearing a tank top at the time, so their eyes got really, really big. Kind of like Miss Bobby's did when she saw that. But they saw me in the tank top, and her eyes got really big. And they asked me how I did that, how I became like this. And that was one of the verses that's in there is,
I can
I
do
feel
all
like
things
David.
through Christ who gives me strength.
I can do all, there it is. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. I was weak. I was physically strong, but I was weak spiritually. And this is, it kind of jarred my memory. I've been hitting the head a lot. But that's it. The more I've let God into my life, and the less I've taken outside substances the more I've taken outside substances out of my life, as in painkillers. I'm not talking illegal drugs. That's been going on for a long time. Because of the next years I have a lot of pain. I know a lot of people don't think so, but I'm very disabled. Was, I guess, a word, but I've had 2 neck surgeries, 3 cervical fusions from the front and the back, and I had to do it and just take all the bone out. And I really should not be able to do the things I can do. I had, just a quick Army story. My platoon sergeant, before I was getting ready to retire, was like, you can do bodybuilding contests, you can do Army PT. I'm like, Roger, Sergeant, all right. I'll go to the doctor and I'll let her know and I'll do it. I got no problem. I went to my doctor and she said, I won't use some of the language she used. She's like, you tell him to come talk to me. Roger. All right, she's like, what you do in the gym helps you more than running those 5 miles a day. You're not hurting yourself, you're very controlled, I can tell. But you do this. She's like, you're not doing that.
I don't want that sergeant in charge of what you're doing with your body.
Yes.
Yeah, I want me and you in the gym in charge of that, not him.
Exactly. That's what she
I
was.
like that.
She's like, he can come see me. And he's a sergeant first class. You ever been in the military? He was a platoon sergeant. About to make his first sergeant. She's like, you can come talk to me. And she was a civilian. I was like, I went and told him, and he's like, that's all right. But my aches and pains, see, I feel weird saying it. I believe it is a God thing. I believe it's God. I don't have those aches and pains anymore. I'm not a strong man. It's not, I don't want to get that, as they say, I don't want to get it twisted. I'm not big, what was his name?
I don't know.
My daughter called him the Hulk.
Yeah.
Remember the strength team guy? It was like 6'5".
Yeah, they focus more on strength than on
Yes.
physique.
I am, and so I try to tell, I'm a bodybuilder who just happens to be strong. But I'm back in that, because I've never seen it. I've never seen a bodybuilder, even though a lot of you probably don't know who he is. Lee Haney? Anybody know who Lee Haney is? He won quite a few Mr. Olympias. He went to he's very religious. He's a Christian. And he's a bodybuilder. I guess I can do it. Like I said, when we were on the mission trip, I started accepting it more when these kids were like, who gave you the strength? Who made you be able to look like this and to do this? I grew up in Michigan. Who's seen the movie 8 Mile? Remember the trailer scene, the trailer park? I used to hang out in that trailer park. Not a very nice trailer park, right? That's where I grew up at. Drugs very prevalent. I never got involved in drugs. But so I could relate to the kids in Bainbridge and in Allisonville. It's very bad, very poor areas, and that's what I told them. No drugs, no illegal drugs, no steroids, no testosterone. I eat donuts, I eat pizza. I'm horrible. But that's what I try and tell them is like, this is all God. God has made me like this. And I am a recovering alcoholic. And through God, who gave me strength, I'm recovering, or sometimes they like to say I'm recovered, but I still go to meetings. And God worked in my life when I was very angry with God. If you've been in the military, drinking and partying and all that was very accepted back in the day. I'd come back from a tour in Iraq, I'd drink for a year, go back, detox for like the first month we were there, ready to go and do great things and save the world. But when I came back from my last tour, it took 3 days and I ended up in a rehab. My blood alcohol level was so high that they would not transport me from the hospital to San Antonio. Fort Hood, Texas to San Antonio is about a 2-hour drive. They would not transport me because they didn't know if I would survive or if I would have a seizure and die. But the two people, Captain Denny and First Sergeant Mabry, or Sergeant Major Mabry now, were put in my life, and they were the first 16 years in the Army, the first 2 that were like, he's going to rehab. He is an alcoholic, he needs help. The other ones were kind of, and I was very good at my job when I wasn't drinking. I was very good at being a tanker. I was very good at combat. And I had a cool tanker picture for Pastor David because he loves tanks, but Jen screwed it up. But I was very good at my job, so they would kind of let it go because they knew once we got over there, I would do my job. But I was killing myself when I was back in the States. And God put those 2 men in my life, and I still have contact with both of them because they saved my life. And again, I believe that was God. I really do. And like I said, it gets better and better every single day, as long as I got to do a few things, though. I have to get up and I have to thank God for waking me up in the morning. I read a daily devotional in the morning, and I read an AA devotional. And I know I talk a lot about AA, but I believe God put AA in my life. And I believe God helped the 2 men who created get AA created. If you read the AA big book in the Bible, there's a lot of similarities. So, I don't want to preach too much on the AA program. I am an AA member, but I'm also a member of RiverTown Church.
In a few years, we can be a member of AARP.
You before me. But I'm accepting this because I don't I really enjoy that, speaking to the kids.
Yeah.
Because I ask them the same question, do you know people who use drugs excessively or drink alcohol too much? Just about all of them say yes. And I told them the same thing, with God, they can stop if they want to. And like I said, when you tell people you're an alcoholic and you do the things I do, hey, you're an alcoholic. And yes, I am 47 years old. Nobody believes that either. So,
I believe it.
it's all right, Eugene. Pastor David and I have the same middle name. So, but I'm accepting God's gift. Finally doing it.
Okay, so.
But you know, sometimes God puts those difficulties in your life so you can relate to others. Because you take somebody like me, I'm not an alcoholic, but I can't relate to somebody who is or has been. They'll go, but you don't know what I'm going through because you haven't been here. You've walked that walk, so you can relate to them, and they will listen to what you say more than they'll listen to me. So I do believe it was tough, it was hard, but you can relate to others who are going through it or who have walked through it. I can't. So I think He uses you that way.
So Keith, what would you say to the people here? Like, so, everyone here has a thing that holds them back, okay? What is your thing? I was a little boy about my son's age, and I would say, Mom, like, why is Dad not coming home? And why is Dad drinking still? And so I love alcoholics because I learned to love my dad in the middle of it. And my mom would say, David, God gave my mom such wisdom. She said, David, everybody in the whole earth has something.
My grandmother said that.
Yeah, yeah. She probably learned it from your grandma. But like, everybody in the world has something. This is just our something.
Yeah.
And I went like, oh, okay. So we all have a something that holds us back or that hurts our heart. But we also have a something where we can be a champion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I find is this. That sometimes there's people like Keith that have had the war situation and alcoholism and these different things. And we can be like, well, we see how you can be a champion because you have something to overcome. And I think for many times for Christians, that's a cop-out. It says like, well, you can do that, but me, I don't really have that kind of testimony or whatever. So the idea that God hasn't made 100% of the people that He made, any idea that God hasn't made 100% of the people that He made to live as a champion, that idea is from hell. That idea is Satan's lie. That idea is part of what's holding you back. Because there are areas in your life that you can and should be a bodybuilder or a musician, but not a bodybuilder or musician, a champion for that. But it has to be who you are, not what you do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And we want to do things for God, and God doesn't want human doings, He wants human beings. And so, you are a champion in many areas of your life, and what I do as a pastor many times is, I just want to get you to the place where you could possibly believe it. And like Keith said, what I thought I was, I became. And it's your lack of belief that you're a champion that's making you not a champion. It's your lack of belief that you're not a champion that's making you a champion. Not that's making you not one. And so, the very worst thing when you hear my story is to think, well, isn't that nice for him? I'm just not so great. The greatest thing you could do is say this. I've I've never seen anybody do that as a Christian. But maybe I could.
Well, Dave,
The church I grew up in when I was a little boy, there was this message that you really couldn't be a drummer as a Christian. But, and we had to deal with that. But, so anyway, I want to kind of close and let Keith do his feat of strength. And he's going to ruin a perfectly good, no, we should make some edge on this. Some edge on yours. You want to tear the top off of it?
That's a brand new one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get an old one from the kitchen.
So you,
This is a real pain, too.
Yeah, it is.
I've never done this
you need
before.
somebody to come up and examine it?
Jen already did. She was like,
No, let's have somebody come examine it. Grayson, Grayson, bring your friend. Grayson, bring your friend.
bring a friend.
it's real. It's not plastic. Is it real? Touch it. Feel it. Is it real? Hang on.
Is it real, Jordan? Yeah, it's real.
I've never done this. I'm the weightlifter guy. I'm gonna put on gloves because I have, and they're nothing special gloves. They're motorcycle gloves. I've just never done this. I'm sorry, Jen. I'm gonna ruin a good pan.
What about that pole up there? Keith?
I'm gonna try it differently. What's that now?
What about that pole? You could lift David and Melanie up.
Hey, when you volunteer me, I volunteer you.
Like I've said before, and that before I did that time, I've never done that. And somebody convinced me to do it. They said, you can do it.
And on short notice with no warning on that.
No.
Like, it was like 2 days. Well, not this.
Lenora.
And that one at the mission trip, we grabbed 2 young ladies, and I got so excited to go out there and do that for all those little kids. I benched a military customs place. That was God again. So I don't need the hype like the strength team. I don't know if I can do this, so we'll find out.
Oh, that was easy. What was that?
Just right for a process.
All right, can you undo
I did not know I could do that.
No, you made it look easy. Now undo it so I can cook from it.
Well, again, see, I have, and this is the truth. And I'll show you this. I shouldn't have been able to do that. I'm actually very surprised I could.
Keith, I don't know where that first pictures you see. I think that's almost Arnold. Arnold guy.
The one in the bathing suit.
Because of
One
the
in the bathing suit.
because of the next issues the next issues I
Yeah, I
have.
want to see it again.
The neck issues I had, if anybody's had a cervical fusion or knows anything about it,
Yeah, you're weak.
this hand, if you can see it, is all kinds of muscle atrophy and doesn't have the strength that my left hand has, and I'm right-handed. So, that's God. That's not me. Yeah, I've never done that before, I'll probably never do it again. I don't know. Unless David talks me into it again.
Get a bigger pan next time.
So now the strength thing should be calling me, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you all, and I hope you all got something out of that.